Hi, I'm Sean Kokoska, president of Empire Builders. Today, we're talking about how to overcome the fear of calling prospects and generating leads for your business. And our second topic in that title is, what do you do with your first 3 hours every day? And how do you make certain that you're on purpose in those first 3 hours? First, I want to talk a little bit about, and let me introduce Don Hobbs, our executive vice president. And Don, I want you to talk to him a little bit about what Gary Keller wrote about in The One Thing around willpower is not always on will call.
Well, Sean, that's a great topic because the key that we discovered in reading the One Thing book and when Gary and Jay wrote that book is that our energy level really affects our ability to focus. And of course, when is our energy the highest? And the answer is the first thing in the morning. And what we discovered was that no matter what it is that you're doing, if you want it to be the very best, then you want to do it as soon as possible. You want to do it when your energy is the highest. And again, there's the parts of taking care of your life in the early morning hours, energizing yourself and exercising and all that. But when it comes to work, the first thing I do when I walk through the door is I want to get into the one thing that I should be doing as fast as possible while my energy is the highest. And that's going to happen probably before what we would consider a mid-morning break time, or certainly before lunch. Yeah. When our energy is beginning to wane, we haven't fed it, we haven't put anything in to fuel our body, and our energy is absolutely the highest, and we can get the most out of our words and out of our energy.
No doubt about it. And many salespeople, many entrepreneurs, business owners, their most important task is generating leads for the business. I mean, let's face it, nothing happens until a lead is generated and then ultimately closed. So with that being the most important thing to do throughout the day, we want to do it when our willpower is at its highest, kind of like the battery life on your cell phone. You plug it in at night, and the first thing you do when you wake up is you unplug it, you look at it, and make sure it's at 100%. Your willpower is exactly the same.
Right.
Now, the more complicated the app is that you're running, like, for example, if you've got Siri talking you turn-by-turn directions to your next destination, well, it's going to wear that battery down. In fact, the phone gets hot, right? And the more complicated the task you do at work, such as lead generation, dealing with rejection, dialing that next number, those are things that really cause your willpower battery to be depleted. Now, when it's depleted, we fall back on our default settings. And the default setting might be, well, I don't feel like doing that today because, in our BOLD program, we teach you how our programming impacts our thoughts, meaning programming, our perspective, comes from our past experiences, from our upbringing, from our mother, our father, our siblings, our teachers,
Absolutely.
The radio stations we listen to, as well as the television shows that we watch. It all programs us, plus past experience. Oftentimes, our minds have had so many exposures by the time we're 20 years old that we just go on autopilot. I've been there, done that, and if I've been there and done that and I got this result, well, I'm going to do it exactly the same way. And rarely does it occur to us that when we change the way we look at things, the things we look at change. And in order to get to better, oftentimes, we just need to get to different. So for many of us, lead generating first thing every single day for the first 3 hours every day, well, that's a little different. Now, I have the pleasure of coaching several individuals, several salespeople, several business owners, not only on strategy, yet skill set and methodologies that we've discovered in The One Thing. And when coaching these individuals, we tell them, first thing, you're going to make your contacts, at least 20 contacts every day. The relentless pursuit of leads is what we're after. 20 contacts every day, 100 every single week. Now, oftentimes, though, they'll actually block the time, say from 9 o'clock till noon, I'm blocking the time I'm going to lead generate. Right? And they're not getting their 20 contacts. Now, the average after 65,000 graduates of the BOLD program is about 10 contacts per hour. That's a very high efficiency. And yet, they blocked out 3 hours and they're not getting 20 contacts. Why is that? It's because, yeah, they're doing their best to be intentional. They're doing their best to be on purpose. They're even blocking the time. Yet what they do is they show up in the morning. They say, okay, I'm going to my office, lead generate, and then they start investigating. Okay, who am I going to call? Let's pull my list of numbers together. And next thing you know, it's 45 minutes later. They still haven't made a single phone call, yet they're working on this list, right? Have you ever been there? I certainly have, right? Yet there's one thing time, meaning lead generation time, and then there's time for everything else. Assembling your numbers should be done in the everything else time. And then you can really be on purpose during your proactive lead generation time. Or even worse, they're not sweeping for minds, meaning that little fun reminder that pops up on your lower right-hand corner of your computer screen that says, oh, you've got a new email. And you're like, ooh, new email. I better respond to that. And then 45 minutes later, you're still doing email, right, Don?
Or worse, Facebook or Instagram or something, right? And by the way, Sean, you're right. And the fires that we walk into the morning full intention, with intention to make calls, to go a direction, to get into our lead generation model. And the truth is, the landmine goes off, the fire started, and I find myself now at 2 o'clock in the afternoon going, wow, I just never made it to those calls. So you're really outlining the fact that during that first part of the day, while the energy is the highest, we've got to stay focused and protect ourselves and that time block.
Yeah, and we've also got to focus on building the success habit of proactive lead generation every single day. And
Absolutely.
that word habit, let me just talk about this for a second. F.M. Alexander said, people do not decide their future, they decide their habits. And their habits decide their future. And so consciously, we set goals. Consciously, we build business plans. Yet if we're honest and authentic with ourselves, where do we generally form habits, consciously or unconsciously? Well, if you're like me, then you'll agree that most people, and I certainly was this way until reading The One Thing, I formed habits unconsciously. Many of us bought into the theory that it takes 21 days to form a habit. And the research is real, right? It's actually 66 days. 18 days on the low end, and 254 days on the outside, and the 66 days represents the sweet spot. So I'm going to encourage you right now, just go to theonething.com. That's with the number 1. THE, the number 1 thing.com, and download what we call the 66-day habit tracker. Now, what you do is you identify the habit that you choose to own, meaning it's something you just do. And then I'm going to ask you to write that down, articulate what that habit is that you want to own, and then put that up somewhere where everybody can see it.
That's key, Sean. That's really key.
Yeah, and there's 66 boxes on this form, and every day you do what you're supposed to do. Go ahead and put an X on that box, and there's 66 of them, and understand that you're on your way to owning that success habit. And if lead generation is your one thing, when you do it 3 hours every day, go ahead and put that X on there. And by the way, every time you break the chain, you get to start over. So 66 days, that will get you the habit of proactive lead generation every single time. And remember, people do not decide their future, they decide their habit. And then their habits decide their future. So what else would you add to that, Don?
Well, Sean, I think that what you're outlining here is that's what our first 3 hours needs to be every single day. And that's when we do that, our business is in full swing. All other things get taken care of. There's plenty of time. And by the way, if you're in a business where you're not the leader, the owner, and you're doing your sales, listen, you will be so effective, they will get you people to do the things that you don't like to do and are probably distracting you. And if you are the owner, you're going to be able to hire the people you need. You need to stay focused on your one thing, and that is lead generation for those first 3 hours. So absolutely, Sean, very powerful.
Good job, Don. In fact, those people that we have the pleasure of aligning with and coaching and holding accountable to extraordinary results, they don't check email before noon. Many people just completely freaked out on me, right? You don't check email before noon? Let me ask you, have you ever heard of an email emergency? I haven't. I mean, if your house is on fire, they're not going to email you. You follow me, right? They're going to text you. They're going to call your cell phone. They're going to find somebody in your office to track you down if there's an emergency, right? So why not have an autoresponder that says, I'll be returning emails today afternoon? Simple as that, right? Then they know they're not going to get an email, and if they need you sooner, give them a way to contact you. I won't be returning emails today until noon. If you need to reach me before that, please text me give them your phone number, right? They get an auto response. They know you're not going to be checking email. Really that simple. Your outgoing voicemail that people hear when they call you, why not structure your day, chunk activities together for the highest level of results? For example, hi, this is Sean Kokoska, president of Empire Builders. Thank you so much for your call. I'll be returning calls today between 12 and 12:30, again between 2:30 and 3, and finally between 4:30 and 5. Now, given the 3 options, let me know when's the best time for me to call you back and the best number to be my pleasure to return your call. Simple as that. Then your cell phone rings or your desk phone rings. Well, let it go to voicemail. You know they're going to leave a message, and they're going to say, hey, it's John Smith. The best time to call me today would be between 4:30 and 5, and here's the best number. It avoids that constant telephone tag of attempting to reach somebody. It's just challenging, right? So there's a couple of strategies that are going to help you focus on doing the most important thing. Your 20%, meaning 20% of the things that you could do are going to yield at least 80% of your results. So rather than a to-do list, let's focus on a success list. What are the key drivers that drive your career forward, drive your sales forward, build your business, and let's focus on that first. All right, what else would you like to add to this topic, Don?
Just taking that 20% and taking 20% of that and 20% of that and getting it down to your one thing, focusing on that for 3 hours and making that the best part of your day. I promise, things start to change. It's magic.
And by the way, when you identify the one thing that's going to drive your business, I want you to subdivide it. Subdivide it down to the point it can no longer be subdivided. That would be your lead domino. Like if you said lead generation, that's my one thing. I'm going to do it from 9 to 12. Understand the dominoes haven't been identified yet. What is it? How many dominoes need to be knocked down before you pick up the phone and start calling people? So what's the one thing I can do about lead generation such that by doing it, everything else will be easier or unnecessary? Well, getting a list. Okay, what's the one thing I can do about getting a list such that by doing it, everything else will be easier or unnecessary? Well, engage so-and-so from my office to pull that list for me every evening before they leave the office. So it's right there on my desk. Perfect. What's the one thing I can do about that? Well, schedule a meeting and set expectations, right? So continue just boiling it down, subdividing, subdivide to the point you can no longer subdivide that lead activity. Then take action on that. See, because when you do one thing, the right thing, then it topples many other things. It creates that domino run that I think we all enjoy, that geometric progression in our businesses as well as our lives. I'm John Koska, President of Empire Builders. I look forward to talking to you again soon. Until we do, be on purpose, focus on your priority, and be productive. Thank you very much.
Bye-bye.